known, one beyond my wildest dreams. Maybe that one could have carried me to streets of gold. Things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I had today. Except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I had today. Everywhere I could have ended up just like that broken road, with a dead end in my path. Thank the Lord that I've got more than that. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I won't forget the lessons that I don't deserve.
Oh, good morning. How you doing, folks? This is 1100 WSGI. I'm U-Turn Laverne, and yes, we're kind of getting all of our ducks in a row in here. We had some things change, and so you know how that happens. Sometimes things change, and you have to move some things around. So if you're on my social media page, you're probably getting the feed from WSGI because we were unable to make a connection the way I normally do. So hopefully you're getting the show this morning. Just been kind of one of those upside down days. And yes, I got here early. I wasn't late walking in. I got here early because I knew I had to fix some things. Dr. Chris Causey is in the house. How you doing, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Even with all the things kind of going wonky in here this morning, that's okay. We just, we've got new stuff. Oh, I'm just going to break everything. Well, we've got the new board. We've got the new decorations.
Board. I'm sitting there looking at it.
I know. Isn't that so cool? So we've got all these fun things going on in here, and we just, we've changed some internet things. And so that's one of the reasons, if you've been watching us on social media and you're like, it looks different. I've got the new passwords, and so we're back on track, but for some reason, one of my connections is not working. But we'll figure it out. But I think you'll be able to watch us through the WSGI page, I'm hoping. So, and did you happen to check and see if we were on this morning as far as just the regular signal? Did you have us turned on in the car?
I did, yeah.
And
I was listening to Ridge Top Ramblers.
So we were on.
Yep.
Good. Well, that's half the battle right there, because we had some problems yesterday with the tower. So we've had just kind of Ilyu Maldonado and Ebenezer Broadcasting. I mean, it's a big thing when you start trying to, get all this stuff together and make everything work right and get all the pieces in place. So they've done a fabulous
Like
job.
I only live 8 minutes away. So if I hear you on the radio, I know to speed up just a little bit.
So it's like, okay, she's gone to the she's gone to the song. It was so funny. Ace Timmermeyer was in here yesterday and she goes, "You ever get tired of this song?" I'm like, "No, it's our theme song." Of course I don't get tired of that song. But and I'll just kind of this little caveat, you're gonna have an opportunity to see those guys live, the Ridgetop Ramblers that were singing us in just a minute ago, because we will be doing the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival happening out at the Kilgore Park third weekend in May. So just kind of save the date for that. And I think you will love that. It'll be a great time for us.
Somewhere yesterday, I saw them
Ridgetop?
either in Nashville or it was on Twitter somewhere or Instagram and
I forget where it was, but I saw they were playing. I'm wanting to say, I kind of think they were at the Station Inn downtown.
might have been.
They were somewhere in Nashville. And I was like, cool. I just remember them going somewhere and thinking, oh, that's really neat. So, so we like that. But Dr. Chris Causey's in the house. He actually messaged me yesterday, hey, we on for tomorrow? I'm like, yes, we are on for tomorrow. So outstanding. I appreciate you checking in.
Always good to get confirmation.
Yeah. Oh, always.
We started at 5:00 last night.
Oh, you did. So y'all had a big one.
We did, and I tell folks all the time, I get tickled that a lot of people show up during a planning meeting, thinking that it's something like crazy or something that they, that we don't want part of the board meeting or whatever the case might be. But it's really just we schedule things during the planning meeting that don't necessarily take a vote.
Yeah.
So it's just a discussion.
Yeah.
But it has to be public. Mm-hmm. So anytime, school boards are like, they're biblical, where two or more are gathered, you have to be public. So, So in that case, last night with the 5:00 planning session, the first 45 minutes, our board members have had the same iPad since pretty much iPads came out. They're about 10 years old.
Oh, goodness.
So it was time. They were starting to really show some issues. So board members did get new iPads last night. So the first 45 minutes was just training on the iPad, with the iPad Pro, whatever they got now. So it was pretty boring, I think, for everybody else that was there. But,
that's great.
But maybe they learned something about Microsoft Office and Teams, because the board uses the exact same thing that our schools do. So with all the apps on there, and that's OneDrive, how to keep up with all your files on OneDrive, and I've been doing that. We were looking through a lot of this charter application process that we're going through right now. I had to go back and look at some files that I had from 2011, 2012. 12 and 13. And, if you're sitting there at home saying, I have no idea where I would even start, all of mine's on OneDrive. Mm-hmm. Even before OneDrive happened, when OneDrive started, I just took literally everything in my life and stuck it on OneDrive. So I have personal folders on there. You have up to a terabyte that you can have. Even our students have up to a terabyte of storage there. And it's funny because when our kids go to college or they go to TCAT, they expect you to keep everything on the cloud or on some kind of virtual drive there. So, I share things with my kids from OneDrive to their OneDrive. Not Dropbox. I know that's a big one for a lot of people as well. But, I used to be one of those people that would email myself stuff, or I would keep it on a thumb drive and then take it home and do all of that. And now I just, at the end of the day, everything syncs. And when I get home and I pull up my laptop, I work on my stuff. And or if I'm on my, I'm usually don't take my laptop to county commission meetings, but I get the packet. So their meeting is next Monday. I pull it up on my phone and I read through the packet while they're having the meeting, just because it's on my OneDrive. So it's if you like to have access to everything at any time, that's the way to do it.
It was really funny because I'm learning to use OneDrive. I'm a Dropbox person, and when we were trying to share the Black History Month videos and stuff, I'm like, oh, OneDrive, we can do it because it's got the capacity for it. And I was so shocked because I'm so accustomed to having to go through Dropbox and all those things. And as I've learned to use OneDrive, I'm going, oh, this is pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Well, it's just one of those where, and they all link in together, like your Teams and your SharePoint and all of that. And, all of the board packets are online. Of course, they're on our website as well. So if you ever miss a meeting and you want to go back and see what it was all about, you can do that. And you can also watch the video as well. So
very, very cool.
yeah, we do things a lot differently than we did just 6 years ago.
Things do change, don't they?
They do change.
How long have you been in this position?
This is finishing up year 6.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. So when you first walked in, it has changed a bit.
We were just starting this Microsoft Office deal.
Yeah.
And we decide early on that we would be a Microsoft Office district and not a Google district. And it really just came down to, the ability to use Word and Excel and all of that. And I know people do that with Google as well, but it just, everything with Microsoft products just are really nice. And I always get tickled when we're on a presentation or whatever, and they're using Google Slides or whatever. My brain gets a little wonky now because I'm just not used to Google anything really.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I've Mr. Marshall, our technology coordinator, has finally gotten me out of Chrome. I was a Chrome user for the longest time, and then and with Microsoft Edge now, everything is on ClassLink and all of that. So
yeah,
I'm trying to lead by example. I'm trying to get there, but old dog here, new tricks or something.
So do you go Safari then, or what you mean they get you off Chrome? That's
Google Chrome.
Yeah. So
Microsoft Edge.
Microsoft Edge, okay.
which is
I don't know what I'm using.
If you use a PC in our school system,
okay,
you're probably using Edge as a browser.
Okay,
it used to be Internet Explorer.
Okay, I need to look and make sure I'm not using one, because honestly, when something doesn't work right, it's usually where I've clicked the wrong button.
Right.
Typically.
Well, if you click on Microsoft Edge now, it takes all of us should take you to ClassLink.
Oh yeah, I do everything.
Then you're using.
Okay,
Edge.
yeah. ClassLink, I know, but when I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's using the browser, and I went through all the browsers. When I worked at Western back in '93. 1993 is really when Netscape came out. That was such a big deal.
Yeah.
And then of course AOL was big back then, and all of that, and dial-up modems and that world. And and actually, I bought my first computer with platelet money. When I worked at Western, and I worked third shift at Minute Mart. There in Bowling Green. Listen, and I know we're getting off here. But,
I love it. This is fun.
I worked third shift at a Minute Mart in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And then I had a ride to school. So I went to class at 8 o'clock. And then I walked home because the house that I was renting was about a mile away from campus. So I just walked home. That way I didn't have to worry about gas, back in, didn't have to pay for that. On the way home, though, for those who are familiar with Bowling Green, Old Morgantown Road, there was a plasma center. And literally you could sell your plasma. It's like Catcher in the Rye. That's what what they used to do. I would actually once a week I would sell my plasma.
Yeah.
And it was 15, then it was 25, and then they incentivized you to keep on going because you do it once a week.
Yeah.
And then the next month it started over with a smaller amount. So you did that. And my first used computer that I had was an old 8088. It was it had and computer people know exactly what I'm talking about, but it was an old 8088. The hard drive was, I think, maybe 64 meg, maybe that was the hard drive, not the RAM. So but I actually put a little Red Cross sticker on the top of that computer, because the couple $100 that I'd saved by doing that actually bought my first computer.
I think that is a great story. I love that you share stories like this, because people are like, there's the director of schools. And it's like, and he's a real dude.
Yeah.
He's a real dude, man.
Plasma when he was 20 years old.
I love that story, Dr. Causey. That's excellent.
Good stuff.
Oh, that's good. I love that, man. That is so funny. I'm going to pause, take a break on that. I love that you're just so real with us, man. That's awesome. Talking with Dr. Chris Causey, our director of schools, and we're going to get into all the things. You already talked about the planning session, and they got new iPads and all that, and that's how we went down that rabbit hole, but it was a fun one to to just kind of explore. We're going to pause and talk about Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. Okay, here's the thing. If you've got any kind of gardening needs, you got to go talk to them. And if you're going to put in a garden, I was talking to different ones about what's the timing on getting your vegetable garden planted. I'm not going to get to plant one this year, but typically, I would not put anything in the ground until after tax day, which is approaching next weekend, or I think next Monday is officially tax day. But typically after that point, you're not going to have a hard frost. The last 2 years we have. So you kind of have to be careful about it. And I was talking with Tiffany and Brian from United Way, and she was saying Mother's Day. Mother's Day weekend is the time to plant your garden. So maybe that's a better gauge. The bottom line is, if you get your tender plants in the ground right now, you've got to be ready. You could have to cover them still. But we are approaching that time when things are going to really start growing. I'm really anxious to see if my evergreens are going to come back, and my ivy and all of those things that took a hit from that polar vortex thing that happened at Christmas. But Amy can help you navigate the waters of all those things. And if you have questions, and Brian Pooley said he did all of his bedding plants from Corbin last year, said it was absolutely the best garden he'd ever had. So with all those things said, we say go and see them right now. Now, what you can do is you can also plan to go out for Customer Appreciation Day. They'll be open at 9 a.m. on May 13th, Mother's Day weekend. So you can go out and there's a planting station for the kiddos to plant something great and put something great together for mom. They're going to have, of course, all your questions answered, free hot dogs, but that's May 13th. Hope you'll plan to be there. Right now, if you go to their Facebook page, social media, it still says they're open 10 to 4, Monday through Saturday, and Sunday from 1 to 4. Those hours extend as they get on into the warmer weather. But any question that you have, Corbin Creek Greenhouse is the place to go, or just give them a call at 615-384-3185, 615-384-3185. They're at 4920 Highway 161. When you talk to them, let them know that U-Turn sent you. Talking with my friend, Dr. Chris Causey, and okay, had the planning session, got new iPads and all those things. Where are we?
And that wasn't all the planning session. We don't spend 2 hours doing that.
Oh, I know.
But we did. We continue budget talks. We are in budget season, and the school system budget is larger than any other county department out there. Last year, about $136 million. But what a lot of people, they automatically go to sales tax and property tax, and we fund this, we fund that as citizens, and that is correct. However, about 75% of the budget that we have, 75% of it doesn't come from local dollars. It comes from the state. Right. So that's a lot of people think about how large our budget is. Well, remember, 75% of it isn't even local money. So I think that's a big thing to discuss during this time. And we also have a new funding formula from the state. We've been under the basic education program, other known as BEP, for 3 decades. As long as I've ever been around at all, we talked about BEP this, BEP that. And now it's TISA funding, TISA. And I always get what that stands for wrong. So I'm not even going to try to do
acronyms.
Acronyms, great thing. But it is different because it's actually funded by students and what their unique learning needs are. There's actually it's a kind of a pyramid. The base level is a basic amount given to the district for every single student in the district based on 11,100 plus. We actually have over 11,600, but the rest of those kiddos are preschool, and pre-K is federally funded. So anyway, with the 11,100 kiddos, they get a base number. And then after that, based on your unique learning needs, and whether it be a special education, English language learners, it could be dyslexia, it could be lots of different, there's about 10 different unique learning needs there, then you actually get more funds. Oh, wow. So it's truly based on you. So you might generate, $7,500. However, this child beside you sitting in the same room might generate 11,000 plus. It really depends on what your needs are. So that's a little different than BP ever did for us. And then beyond that, there's also a lot of direct funding. There's some CTE funding. There's also funding based on how this year's TCAP scores go. You know, if you do well, you get more money. That's the part of the formula I'm not real fond of. Because there's so many factors that go into that, not just school. But it is what it is. So Robertson County is slated to get a few more dollars from the state this year. So trying to budget all of that. And talking about budget process just real quick, we started this back pretty much the first week of March. And the budget isn't actually approved by the county commission this year until August. So it is a very long process. But we start with meetings with every single principal of every single school we have. And then and that's elementary, middle, high. And then we go on to the coordinators and the supervisors. And we try to wrap up everything that elementary or those principals were needing, whether it be an extra teacher based on numbers, extra teacher based on course requests at the high school level. You know, if we've got more, your class, audio visual. If we have more requests than we have because you can only teach 3 per semester, then we start having that conversation. Okay, do we need to find another teacher somewhere? So do we have the room for another class? You know, those kind of conversations and those meetings with each principal usually takes at least an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. And then, so you can only schedule so many in a week. So we actually finished up all of our budget meetings, our in-house budget meetings last week. The board started their conversation a week ago Saturday with a budget planning session. They had another one last night. They'll have another one at 5 o'clock before the May meeting. They'll probably have another one between the May and the June meeting. Then they'll have another one, the June meeting, and then they'll actually vote on the budget the second Monday of June. And then I will present the budget to the budget committee of the county commission the next day at Robertson County Finance Office. So
wow,
so it's a big process, and then at that point they'll know what the property tax is going to be, what the sales tax is going to be, all of those things. They'll set the tax rate, and then all of that is voted upon. They'll have to have a public comment time. I present the budget during the public comment, which is at the where they have the county commission meetings, and Jody Stewart, our finance coordinator for the entire county, will do that as well for all the other departments. Like I said, we do that separately for the most part, and then they'll vote. And so it's a very, I'd say it's a laborious process, but I just want people to know that it's just not, Dr. Causey in his office going, yep, nope, yep.
Yeah.
It truly is. When I bring a budget to the budget committee, it truly has had many eyes on it, and it really reflects the needs, and is also as fiscally responsible as we can be, because it is your money. At the end of the day, it is your money, whether it comes from the state or it comes from local. At some point, you probably put some nickels in. So we take it very seriously.
I love it. And it is quite a process. Mr. Gregory was by yesterday for a minute at the classroom. And it was so funny because the program that we're building comes from funds that was a grant, and it was a CTE thing and all that. And he goes, now, you remember, you're not going to have all this money next year. And I said, I understand that. And we're really, once we get all the pieces and parts in there, I mean, it'll just be, it won't be a big ticket item.
Right.
It'll be like, we were talking about lighting for the studio.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And
I've
I'm excited. But what's so funny is Mr. Jim Bellis, he's like, this is how you do things, because there's stuff sitting around we can use that people have. And Jim's like, I helped somebody take down a studio, and I actually have some lights that I think can backlight that for you. I'm like, really? So we're putting all those together, and I've got a friend of mine, Mark Carver's going to come in and kind of help us evaluate our lights. And I told Mr. Gregory yesterday, I said, people will help us with stuff because people got stuff sitting in their garage that they're not using. They're going, you can use this? Yeah, take it. Right. Because the little bits and pieces that we need, and it's so funny. But he was like, no, you're not going to get all this money next year to spend. I was like, yeah, I know.
Well, got to give him a shout out, because we did have a budget amendment on the board meeting last night for about $800,000, I do believe.
On the CTE program?
Yep.
Okay.
$840,800, which is a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
But the Innovative School Models Grant, which is where all this money is coming from, is a $5 million grant over the next 4 years. Each one of our standalone high schools, Greenboro High School has $1 million budget there. So between your program, the ag program, all of these other programs that Greenboro High has, Springfield High got $1 million, Heritage East and Joe Burns got $500,000. Our middle school's got $500,000. It's a total of $5 million for Robertson County. What makes Mr. Gregory special is that's a long application. You can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
You have to budget everything, spend every penny before you even apply. And he's one of the few that I know of that actually, when he submitted it, it was approved first try.
Wow.
They didn't send it back and say, no, you need to fix this, this, and this. And I was at the Superintendent Study Council Legislative Learning Conference, a couple weeks ago in Nashville. And I'm sitting there with all of Mid-Cumberland and some others. And they were talking about, have you gotten yours approved? Have you gotten yours approved? And I was one of the few that had gotten theirs approved. Some of them had submitted it 2 months ago, but then they changed some rules and some different ways of doing things. Kind of the state always says, here's the application, but 2 months from now, we'll tell you what to do with it. They're notorious for doing that. So, but we waited, Mark's a very patient guy, and we waited until they figured out what the rules were. And then when we submitted it, it was approved.
That's awesome.
It's pretty, he did a good job. So that being said, though, we're a little behind as far as getting that money. But the budget committee actually approved it first last week, the budget amendment, just so that we could increase revenues and then spend it. And so we did a budget amendment last night for $840,000 and some change, like I said. And then the budget committee approved it last week, and then the county commission will have it on Monday, and then we'll start. We've got some POs already lined up for it. So
very cool. It's fun stuff. It's fun stuff. That's the thing. I'm fascinated. I love talking to Mr. Gregory because he understands all the nuances of, well, no, it's got to be this way. Well, can we do this? Well, no. You got to do it this way. And he, because I'll go, well, can we do this? And he's like, well, yes, but if you do it like this, it'll work. But it's just so funny because you have to, when you're dealing with those kinds of funds coming in, you have to. When you get audited, they're going to go, well, where is all that? And you have to have used it exactly as you said you were going to use it, or
and every school is different. We do not do a blanket plan for all of our schools, because if you look at our schools, every school is different. So, East Robertson, Joe Burns are looking at cattle catchers, and things that maybe Springfield High doesn't need in the middle, right beside, but based on the programs at each school and what those programs need, I think he's done a bang up job.
Oh, for sure. We're talking with Dr. Chris Causey about all things school board related. I tell you what, you want to just go right into the meeting, because I've got 2 more ads to do, but we're just at the bottom of the hour, so we're doing very good on time.
The first thing we did for the second month in a row, we celebrated cheerleaders. So last month we did Greenboro Middle. Last night we actually did Greenboro High School. They placed, I think it was 13th in the nation.
Oh yeah, they're excellent.
In their competition down in Disney, back a couple months ago. So I want to celebrate them. So those young ladies were there. I get tickled. Stephanie Herndon is one of the coaches, and the other young lady that helps her, I remember when they were in middle school. So that was that's always fun.
Feeling old there, brother?
I'm feeling hey every day I go to work I feel old, especially when we start looking at the personnel report, which always comes next after that, and you do look at some retirees, and one of them, of course, is Mr. Freeland, your assistant principal.
Yeah,
I've known Steve for a long time, and Steve is. I'd say one of the kindest people I've ever worked with.
Oh, he's awesome.
And worked with him when he was alternative school, and of course, Greenboro High School, and he's retiring, and we're gonna miss him quite a bit. Those who know Miss Avita Hurt over at Focus, and Avita is actually one of those that I think is truly responsible for many. I mean, not single-handedly, but had a very large part in the diplomas of a lot of kids who would not have gotten one without her. And, and if you're a teacher of a school of 50 or 60, you've got those few stories, and it just seems like all you got to do is follow Phoenix's Twitter. And every time a kid graduates, from Focus. They'll take a picture. They have a speech that they do, and all of that. And Avita's right up there with them. So she's going to be missed quite a bit. And then one of our school language pathologist, Sherry Mitchell, is also retiring. On the classified side, for those who know John Briggs out at Joe Burns High School, he's been doing ISS. Most people know John really not as an ISS teacher, but as the preacher out at Ridgetop. Or they also know him as a singer and got a gorgeous voice. And, I was telling his wife the other day, I will never hear Beulah Land, the song, for the rest of my life without thinking of John Briggs.
Wow.
He's just, he's definitely a man of God and just a kind man. And to hear him sing, I heard him sing one time with Brian Free and Assurance, which is a Southern gospel, gospel quartet type of stuff. And he was getting on up there. And he's
a tenor.
Yeah, he is. I think that he's kind of like me. The older we get, the more baritone we become. So,
how funny.
So, But Miss Felicia Kleinard, the bookkeeper at East Robertson High School, these are people who are really known in the community as being a school person. And Miss Kleinard talked to her. I remember her when I started at East Robertson back in 1995, and she was the bookkeeper. I've known her because I had her child in class in 1995, and her child is now the assistant principal at East Robertson Elementary School. So these are people I've known for a long time, and Mr. Bobby Wilson, who's been one of our low voltage techs, fire alarm, those kind of things, internet. He's been with us for quite a while as well. So we did list some retirements last night and talked about those folks, and like I said, staples of Robertson County Schools, and they will be missed. So.
Absolutely. I mean, I just, all the folks that I'm getting to know, and the ones that, it's so funny, and same thing with my students, I'm getting to know some of these seniors. I'm like, I'm only getting to know you for a year. And so, like Mr. Freeland, just getting to know him for a year, I'm just pleased that I was able to get to know him, because he is a good guy.
Yeah, he's in that category as I am now. He married well. So if anybody's listening, you can tell him I said that.
That's funny.
When two really, really kind people find each other, it's pretty cool.
I love it. That's pretty awesome. And if you're looking for something, this is something that Donovan and I kind of coined the other day, is retire into teaching. That is what I have done. And I retired from one career into another, and I highly recommend it. And maybe you don't want to teach full time, but we need substitute teachers desperately. I know they just had their big job fair, didn't they? I think we just had the job fair, I'm wanting to say about a week ago. But if you're interested in doing anything in the school systems, just go to the Robertson County Schools webpage and just see about job opportunities, because, man, we could use them. We need bus drivers. My husband will kick me if I don't say, we need bus drivers. Oh, and you know that the law got passed for the being able to navigate the device, and that goes into effect once the governor signs it. I talked to Carrie's assistant the other day. Once it is signed by the governor, it will go in effect on July 1st. So how about that? We're pretty excited about that. So we're like, what else can we do? What else can we, what else can we get done?
Work on something and you see it come to fruition on the legislative floor. It's a big deal.
It was pretty cool, and it was just, I can't say enough about Janet and Senator Roberts getting that done at the last minute, because when he and I started talking about it, he's like, well, there's like a deadline of about a week we had, because we didn't realize there was that deadline coming up, and man, they got on it. So it just was awesome, but we appreciate that so much. I'll go ahead and pause. We'll take a break, and we'll come back and continue talking with Dr. Chris Causey. He's our director of schools. If you have any kind of questions for Dr. Causey, just put them up in comments. I know if you're on my social media, it looks a little different. We've had some internet issues, but we've got it streaming from the WSGI page, and it looks like it's going just fine. So you can tap in there and just let us know what's going on. But I want to remind you of one of our longtime sponsors. When I mentioned the Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival, I met these folks at the festival because they're there in Cross Plains. They are with Exit Realty Garden Gate team. I'm talking about Barry and Rebecca Richards. They will be at the festival, of course, third weekend in May, if you missed that earlier. But if you're having any kind of issues when it comes to buying or selling, one of the things Now it's not quite as easy to sell your home as it was a year ago. Maybe you need new photography. Maybe you need videography. You need some drone footage. Barry's your guy. He is the one who's helped get me up to speed on how to fly a drone and do all those things. And they're so cool. And I mean, people want that now. If you're trying to sell a home and it's not getting any traction, you just may need some better media. And somebody like Barry can take care of that for you. Coming to the table as a buyer, have you gotten pre-qualified? Rebecca's going to make sure that happens for you. And you know something too, Barry and Rebecca were in the other day, and they were talking about some people face foreclosures and those types of things. And they said, don't let that happen. Come and talk to them because they can a lot of the times, point you to a different lender. They can help you refigure it and repackage things to where you're not in that kind of a situation. So if you find yourself just in kind of backed in a corner, you feel like, call them and reach out to them at Exit Realty. They've got, I want to say something like 100 realtors on there, on that in that group, and that they just work together. They're a great team. Maybe you want to be a realtor; they can help you with that too. Now they specialize. Barry and Rebecca specialize in Robertson County because they're in Cross Plains. Have been there for 27 years, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. If you want to connect with them, go to sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy BUY, RobertsonCounty.com, or you can call them 615-504-7425. 615-504-7425. Let them know U-Turn sent you. Dr. Causey in the house this morning talking about all things school board related. So as we move on to talking about the retirees and all those things, and this is that time of the year, but do we have a lot retiring, or is it just pretty much kind of normal pacing? About what you
normal pacing. Those with anywhere between 25 and 30 years. Tennessee has, I think, the second most successful / stable retirement in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe. I think somebody said that they were number 2. So at you can technically, and I always use this term loosely, but you can technically retire pretty much at 25 years, which a lot of people do, and then they'll go to Kentucky or they'll go to private school, whatever the case may be. Because with those people that are retiring now, it's not for everybody because they cut that off. I think you're hired after 2016 or whatever. But actually, Robertson County will pay. The state will pay 45% of your insurance if you retire. They'll pay 30. Well, the state will pay 45 if you retire at 25 years, and which is pretty darn good considering insurance. Robertson County picks up 35% of that at 25 years, and they'll pick up 45% after 30. So if you retire at 30 years right now, your health insurance is paid at 90%. Until you go on Medicare. That's something. So it's a big deal. Incentive. So a lot of folks have are doing that, and they put in 25, 30 years, and they're ready to do something different or go to the house or whatever the case may be, depending on how they are. I'm at that age now to where you start looking at Social Security and you start looking at 62 years or 65 years or 70 years, and all of that, and like I said, it is one of those that. We do have a good school system. We're in a good state for being a teacher and retiring from the school system. And TCRS is a good thing. Yeah.
It's just so funny because people talk about that, because I'm 60 and just stepping into it. And I said, well, see, I've already done. Teachers will go in and they'll do 25, 30 years and they want to do something different. Well, I did that in a different career, and so I'm at that place. I want to do something different. Yeah. And I was a teaching major. People don't realize I was a teaching major when I started college. So I'm coming full circle. Yep. So that's why I keep saying retiring to teaching. Have you thought about it? And I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled with the way my path is going and the things that have opened up for me. So it's just interesting to see people's journeys. Yep. It really is. So very good. Awesome.
And I will say before we move on, the Connection has a great article on Pat Brown. Who's retiring.
Wonderful.
It came out virtually, I think, on Friday. So I think it'll be I guess Connection comes out on Tuesday. I've never read the hard copy in a long time. So I think it's Tuesday.
I get one in the mail.
So if you get a chance to read the Connection, there's a great story on Pat Brown, our district athletic director. We've talked about him in here quite a few times, who honestly is the reason I moved to Robertson County, stayed in Robertson County. So anyway, I got a chance to talk to our buddy at the Connection. Keller, Blaine.
Yeah.
Got a chance to talk to him on the phone last week.
Very cool.
And tell some personal stories and some silly stories. And luckily he didn't print the silly ones. But anyway, we did talk about Pat a little bit last night because you were talking about journeys, and my journey to Robertson County started with a parking pass that I had because I was on staff there. And I was on staff at Western as a 20-year-old, like that was smart of them. But I got a parking pass, which means I could drive, to and from all of my classes. And I remember that the one time the young lady said, "How do you get to class so fast? We share both of these classes. How do you get here?" So I told her I'd drive, and she goes, "Can I have a ride?" Because they were the hilltoppers.
Yeah.
You don't like to walk up that hill.
Yeah.
And that young lady was Tracy Brown, which is Pat's wife.
Oh, how
And
funny.
I developed a relationship with them too and their family. And then when it came down to do my student teaching, Pat said, "Why don't you just come do it at East?" And I said, "Pat, I was in band, buddy." And he goes, "Oh, you can come in. You're going to be there anyway doing your student teaching at East Robertson High School." And
I love this.
I fell in love with Robertson County, and that was the fall of '95, and just never moved back. And 27 years later.
That's so fun. I
So,
love
journeys.
these
It's all
backstories.
journeys.
I love these backstories. It's so much fun. Pat was in here. Jamie brought him in for our sports segment. And so I had never really met him. But, we had a lot of fun talking. So,
Yep.
anyway.
I was around all these football players, him and Jeff Chapman, who's at East, John Elmore, who of course is at your
yes.
school, and Chris Logston, who's over at Heritage now. I'm around all these people that are very athletic and very sports minded, and I play trumpet.
I love
but they
that.
let me hang
That's
out,
great.
and
It's like you got to hang out with the
And the thing is,
athletes.
what you learn from good coaches is it's not about the sport. It's about making a difference in the life of our young people.
Yes.
And they knew that back then, and taught me some lessons back then that I will ever forever cherish. So
Very good.
Good men to be around your first year. I will give them that.
Very good.
One of the contracts, the board actually approved a 1-year contract last night. We can renew it if it works out with a company called ESS, and it's our substitutes. So we're struggling getting substitutes. There's not a day that goes by that every school has 2 or 3 that are not covered. We're about 60, we're trying to get at least up to 65% fill rate. And this company, that's all they do. They recruit, they train, they do. Your pay's not going to change any this first year. We are looking at that for next year, but we really want to see if this makes a difference. So HR will actually be kind of a hands-off now with substitutes. Our substitutes will actually work for ESS. They will be paid weekly or biweekly, which we don't do now, which will help out. Right. They'll have some insurance available to them. They'll have benefits available to them if they want it. Right now, we can't even offer it, but they can. I mean, they'll pay for it, but at least they'll have the opportunity to do that. They'll have incentives for substituting on Fridays or Mondays, and they have contests, and they have all this marketing that they can do with our substitutes that we can't do. We don't have the personnel to do it. So it costs some money. But we're going to see if our fill rate, if it gives some relief to our teachers. We have some teachers that are having to cover classes now because of lack of subs, admins, all of that. And if we can keep that, if we can make that a lot better, then I think it'll be worth every penny we spend. So lots of discussion during the planning session, actually towards the end of the planning session about that. But the board did vote on it last night. We are going to try it a year. ESS is a company out of Chattanooga. However, our friends up the road from here in Cheatham County have been using them for years, loves them. And like I said, the pay of our substitutes will not change for the first year. We're at that $70, $80, $90, $100 scale. But we are looking at that for next year. If this works, then we'll up the pay at that point. And I'm pretty excited talking to HR last night because we really did it, first of all, for substitutes because it gives you a lot more flexibility. It makes sure, they'll check up on you and see how your day was, those kind of things.
Yeah.
That sometimes we just don't have time to do. If you don't like elementary school, let's try middle. If you don't like high school, let's try elementary. They go through all that. And I think we're going to, we have over a couple hundred subs registered right now. And we only have 45 that really take jobs. So we really need to find out why is that. You know, I mean, you knew what the pay was when you signed up. So
Sure.
it's not like, so, well, it's not enough money. Okay, then what is it? You know, what can we do to help that? So we've actually entered into a contract with them. You'll start seeing ESS signs everywhere. And also they'll be at job fairs. They'll be at the chamber. I mean, they'll meet with the chamber. They'll do all of that and see how many folks we can get on board to Subforce next year.
Awesome. So
I'm hoping we get to a point to where we don't have to talk about substitutes. You know,
Okay. Yeah,
we
it's a
just
big
have
thing.
we just have them. You know, and we're pretty excited about.
So that means that SmartFind will be a thing of the past for teachers?
No, SmartFind still exists.
Okay.
That is a program that they're very familiar with.
Okay.
So that program will not change for our subs.
Okay. And that's inside teaching. I know you don't know what I'm talking about, but if I want to take some time off, I have to go into SmartFind and request my sub.
Yeah, and you will still do that.
Okay.
But they're in charge of the program now.
Okay.
So they will actually reach out to that person and say, how was your day subbing for Miss Vivio today?
Okay.
At the end of the day, and, you know, what went well, what didn't go well. They'll you know, relay that to the principal. They'll work with our principals, and it's pretty exciting stuff because that's all they do.
Okay.
You know, they don't. You know, our admins and our a lot of times our office folks are trying to find subs at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yes. It's a thing.
You know, texting and those kind of things because you know you put it in plenty of time, but nobody picked it up.
Yep.
So now what are we going to do? So that's a puzzle that they have to fix every morning, and we're hoping moving forward. You know, every week we'll get some kind of feedback from our principals that say this is what's going well, this is what's not going well.
Okay.
And then we'll report to the board, and if 9 months from now, if it doesn't look like it's going any better than we could do it ourselves, then we'll pull the plug and move on.
So one other question on that. We do have at each school, we have our full-time subs that we're quite familiar with. Will
Right.
they still be on board as a
they're still
full-time
there.
stub?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good deal.
Yes,
Awesome.
ma'am. The only difference
Sounds
is,
like a
I
good
said,
plan.
Their employer will no longer be Robertson County Schools. It'll be ESS.
Okay. I think
Their
it sounds like a
their
good
pay
deal.
will not change. Yeah.
Okay, I think that sounds like a really good idea. So that'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. Talking with Dr. Chris Causey, our Director of Schools. What else do you have for us this morning?
We did enter into an agreement with Star Physical Therapy. If you've been around Robertson County and you've got kids that are athletes, you know who Star Physical Therapy is. Kelly Ziegler is also one of the first people I met through Pat and John and those folks. You know, I hate to say he's been around a long time. Kelly's been around a long time, and most people even knew him back in college when he played football. But anyway, Star Physical Therapy helps our kids out tremendously, and believe it or not, I was floored when I first got here back in the 90s that it was actually a free service based on, you know, we had to advertise for them, put up their banners, and do all of that, but otherwise it didn't cost us. Well, in the last 8 to 10 years. I knew that was going to change eventually, and it did. So now we do have an MOU with them in order, and we do pay them for that service. I'm telling you, it's not nearly the amount that they could charge us. So they've always been very good to work with. When you have a trainer that's there working with your child at school during the school day, that's pretty amazing. And that is no cost to our parents or anything. They also work out some deals to see you on Saturday, to work with your doctors. If you've been injured, they do a really good job. Most people are very familiar with Star Physical Therapy because they're here, they're local, and we're very excited to continue that partnership. That's kind of a no-brainer for most
Oh,
of us.
for sure. For sure. Continuing on, I tell you, I do have one more commercial, so let's just go ahead. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room, Cumberland Connect.
We were talking about them last night.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. And they don't have Cumberland Connect here. It's so funny. I messaged you this morning. I'm like, what's going on with the internet? I can't make it work. And he's like, and they had to change some things, and they're trying to make it. And they can't get Cumberland Connect because they're not on Cumberland Electric. You have to be a Cumberland Electric customer. And so they do the best. It's so funny. Brian Pulley and Tiffany Thompson will be in here from United Way, and she's not a Cumberland Electric customer. So we're sitting here bragging about our gig that we have for $80, and she just looks so sad because she doesn't have the deal that we've got. And it's wonderful.
Well, Mr. Marshall, our technology supervisor, who we know who's in charge, he gets it at his house, I think tomorrow. Or this week. Like, he will have it
it's
for the
so
first time.
exciting.
So we've been bragging about it forever.
Yeah.
And that 1 gig that you pay $80 a month for at your house, he said last night, that 1 gig pipe that comes into your house is the same gig that our schools have.
I know.
So when you think about that, then that's pretty amazing.
It is incredible. And my sons that are all tech people, and they know so much more than me, and they're so humble about it. I'm being sarcastic. And they're like, "Mother, you do not need a gig." That's like, and I keep saying this because it's just kind of funny. That's like filling a bathtub with a fire hose. And then I'll turn to them and I'll say, "Well, what do you have?" "Well, I have a gig, but I need it." And I'm like, "Well, so do I." So anyway, and it's $80. Why would you not get a gig? I love it. I was paying $65 for terrible internet. I love you, AT&T. Y'all were good to me for many years, but lately, not so much. And it was $65. I had upload speeds of 3.5. Now it's in the 600s. It's insane. I love it. I haven't got my extender yet. I've got to get with them and get my extender so I can get it out in the barns. Because as we get into the summer, I'm going to really step up my photography more. We're going to be turning the barn into a studio and all of those things. And so I've got to really, I need my internet out in the barn. So I think we can make that happen. So we're going to be working on that. So all these questions, just call them 1-800-987-2362, 1-800-987-2362, or go to cumberlandconnect.org, put in your zip code, and you'll find out if, like Mr. Marshall, you're going to be getting it real soon. Maybe they're already in your neighborhood, or like Senator Kerry Roberts, you're going to be one of the last ones on the list. He's just like, you cannot say that they're playing favors because our state senator is going to be one of the last. And if you're somebody that can't maybe afford internet, well, because it is a utility now, they have an affordable connectivity program providing qualifying households with monthly credit to help pay for internet services. And if you're eligible, you could receive a credit of up to $30 per month toward broadband service. Get in touch with them today. Cumberland Connect, powered by Cumberland Electric, 1-800-987-2362. Let them know U-Turn sent you. Dr. Chris Causey, we've got 10 minutes.
I'll tell you one of the things about Cumberland Connect that we brought up last night as well is we finally have a company out there that sees internet as a utility.
Yes.
So one of the things we do at every board meeting, we talk about the gas and the electric and water, and we pay a lot of money for those moving forward in all of our schools, but we pay for internet too, because it truly is a utility now. Ask your child, you could go all day long without water. And our kids go, well, yeah. Says, all right, I'm going to turn off your internet for a day, and they'll come unglued.
Yeah.
So, and of course that's probably a broader issue. But one of the biggest things our board also did last night was approve textbooks for the upcoming year in math. So all of our textbooks are on a rotating basis, and this was math's year. Every subject. So one of the things that we also do, there's always a process. The thing for this week is a process. When you ask me about textbooks, there's a process. You ask me about budget, there's a process. When you ask me about charter schools, there's a process. And those processes are very, very important to the sanctity of what you're trying to do. So I try not to get on that tangent. Anywho, we did approve textbooks the board did last night. There's a committee that is made up of every single school in our system. We actually have an open type of setup at our teacher center where parents could come by, anybody could come by, look at the textbooks and say, all right, what is the curriculum, let me use that term, that we're going to be using. The textbook is such a very small part of what our teachers use, as you know. Even on the math side, a good math teacher doesn't need a textbook to do it. However, there are practice problems and things like that and practice tests that help kids prepare moving forward. So at the elementary level, they did approve HMH. I think it's Houghton, Mifflin, Harcourt. I never know how to pronounce the first word. We just call it HMH. Elementary, and like I said, and that vote was close. It was 6-5 when all of our elementary schools got together. So that was really the biggest conversation that we've had over the past few weeks was between that and the other company. There's no one company out there that does everything well. So this company may do these three things well. This company. So we put very smart people, smarter than I am, our academic coaches, our lead math teachers, all of those people are representatives from our schools. And we look at the content itself, and we say, okay, is this what our kids need to be using next year? Is this what our teachers need to be using? So that was approved. At the middle and high school level, it was what we call SAVAS, SAVAAS. It's a Pearson product, or used to be Pearson. So that was pretty much unanimous across the board. So we did approve math textbooks. We do it in April because we get those suckers purchased. The summer of a large adoption like this is very huge for our teacher center. So we'll hire some folks to help do some of that, summer workers, that kind of thing. Dr. Jenny Brett is the supervisor of our material media center. If those who know Mac, the one who does our interdepartmental mail, I don't know if you've ever met Mac, tall.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, this
absolutely.
is,
he's up at, he comes see me all the time.
He's a good guy.
He's a great guy.
But he'll be working pretty hard while the box truck, we'll get them delivered and all of that. But for those who want to know about the textbook industry, this contract to buy all of our textbooks for next year will be approximately $1.9 million.
Wow.
Which is a lot. And we won't do it all in one chunk, but we're able to do it over the next 2 or 3 years. So, but the big part of it is for the board to approve the publisher for our math text. And that's always we did CKLA a couple of years ago for English. Another bid that was approved last night was paving. We used to actually bid it out and we did it by square foot or we did it, by yards, whatever. And we've moved to a direction now to where we're going to bid 3 schools a year, just so we can keep this. And Crown Paving was the lowest bidder that met the specs. And those 3 schools are Springfield High, West Side, and White House Heritage High. For those who are familiar with White House Heritage High, and you go through the Colorado line, you hit about 8 potholes around, and we can't, we can do so much as a school system. At some point, you got to call in the folks that do this on a daily basis. So that got approved last night for Crown Paving. That will go in front of the Finance Committee this afternoon. They meet at 4:00, and then once that gets approved, then we'll be able to start. I think Heritage High is probably going to be our first one that we'll try to do, or we can do West Side on a weekend, those kind of things. But then Springfield High, and then next year, that's for this year that we're in, and then starting in the fall, we've already budgeted $300,000 to do it again for 3 other schools, and we'll keep on rotating. So honestly, in reality, every 6 or 7 years, you should have a fresh coat of pavement.
So. Yeah, you just have to. I mean, it gets pretty rough. It seems like ours around Greenbrier is pretty decent. Yep. We just need a crosswalk. That's one thing I was telling the principal the other day. I was telling Dr. Osborne, just those kids. You look at things that's going out there
in front of the school.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm talking about coming out and going into the parking lot just to direct the kids. It's like walk here, so they're not going out, like it's like herding cats.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Bus duty because I didn't do bus duty until after the first of the year because I was new and I was just trying to find everything, and so I've been on bus duty a lot this year, and I'm like, stand there. It's just like
that's fun.
It's just it is. It's a blast. I'm having a very good time. Dr. Chris Causey is in the house. Got a few minutes. What else have you got for us?
Well, let me swap to new business real quick. Okay. And for those who are listening, go ahead and mark your calendar. We'll shoot this out this week. Friday, May the 26th is the last day of school. It's report card day. You go pick up a report card. The schools will mail it to you. We go through all that. However, the 25th, which is the day before, is now no longer a student day. It is a admin day for our teachers to get in, get the rest of the school year stuff done. No students will be there. At the high school level, you didn't have kids anyway because it was makeup day.
Yeah.
But across the district will be a no student day. The state actually, if we have stockpile days left, which we do, allows us to use one of those for this reason. So we've requested state approved it last night. The board approved it. What it will do, it will move final exams. So final exams for high school will start on that Monday for third and fourth block. Tuesday will be first and second block, and then the kids will get to leave right after that on Tuesday. Wednesday's makeup day, and this is high school now, mind you. Thursday, no students, and then Friday you can come pick up your report card. So,
good to know.
So it's really more. It's a teacher friendly. I understand it's not necessarily a parent friendly, but at that point, that's the last week of school. Most of our parents already, do some stuff anyway. So we did ask for that, and we asked the schools their opinion yesterday, and it came back 19-0 that was a good idea. So that Thursday is no longer a student day in Robertson County. So the 25th. No kids. So the last full day of school will actually be the 23rd on that Wednesday for our elementary kiddos and our middle school kiddos. Of course, you'll have makeup exams So you'll have
our last full day will be that Monday. because we'll have a
Yes,
half
and then
day
Tuesday
on
will be
Tuesday.
half day for final
as far as the
exams, right.
kids are concerned. Yeah.
So that got approved. That's the biggest thing that happened last night. I will tell you just a couple of things. One of the things we did celebrate, Miss Beverly Corbin, who is my administrative assistant. You know, they're called different things throughout the years. Miss Beverly is my right hand. Her and Mr. Billy, her husband, actually celebrated 41 years yesterday. Anniversary.
That's awesome.
And she was at the board meeting last night.
Bless her heart.
She's the
my
board
goodness.
secretary as well.
Yeah.
So she's there to take notes and do
Happy
the minutes and all that.
anniversary.
So yeah, we made a big, we embarrassed her real good last night.
That's wonderful,
Because I got a phone call from Mr. Billy yesterday that said, "Hey, it's our 41st wedding anniversary. How much can you embarrass her tonight?" I said, "I'll do my best."
That's awesome.
So yeah, they're good family, and of course their son Clint is our building and ground supervisor. There is just to tell folks, there is a legislative committee meeting tomorrow at 4:00, in which they'll be discussing a resolution regarding charter schools.
Okay.
It's not part of the approval process. Has nothing to do with the approval process. But our county commissioners feel the need to do that. There is a special called board meeting on April the 24th. That is to vote on the charter application. There is a capacity interview this Friday, but it's really between the committee and the charter folks. That is at, I think, 2. But the special called board meeting is on the 24th, which is 2 weeks from yesterday. Actually.
Okay.
So, and then May the 5th, just because I have this microphone right now, we do have Special Olympics on May the 5th, which is a huge thing in Robertson County.
Yes, it is.
However, that night at 6:00, I will be in Murfreesboro watching my oldest graduate from college.
Oh, that's you're kidding. She's already graduating?
And the other thing I'm going to bring up my kids is you'll be glad to know that my other child, which you know well, Jackson, is actually signed up to take a broadcasting introduction to broadcasting class in the fall at Austin P. We'll see if it sticks. It was really because he had some of his animation classes that would not, they were at the same time. So he could only take 2 or 3 of those. Yeah. So he had to fill his 12 hours, a full-time student. So we pulled that one out and hopefully his advisor will let him keep it because it's introduction to broadcasting and buttons and all that stuff that you look at. And so I'm excited. I think he's not as excited because it's not, and animation is kind of his focus. So got those blinders on, but we're excited. And I said that out loud, but
if he could do voiceover for his animation, and he has the voice, he has a broadcast voice,
but
so he can do the
very proud of
voiceover.
both my kiddos. And they're having, of course, she graduates and she'll stay in Murfreesboro and do her thing.
Congratulations. And that's fabulous.
We're excited about having a college grad.
You told Jackson to call me. Yeah, he's got the voice for it. That's a great fit for him.
Well, when he comes home this summer, we'll talk again.
Yeah, we'll get him in here. Again. We'll do that for sure. Talking with Dr. Chris Causey. His door is always open if you have questions for him. He's a dear friend of this program, dear friend of mine. And thank you for joining us for One Street Over. Tomorrow will be Donovan's Day, so be sure and tune in. It's always fun to talk with Donovan Hilton here on One Street Over. This is 1100 WSGI. God bless.